What up, guys? So it's this time of the year where we finally, like, all the movies that have to be released are released, and we can just finally get down to dealing with the best movies of the year. And so it took me some time to get to making this list because it was very difficult. It was such a good year for Indian cinema. There were so many great movies, so it was pretty difficult for me to pick one by one, but I was able to do it, and I have my top 10 list. But there are some honorable mentions, such as Labbar Pant. I thought Labbar Pant was a very fun movie. It's just that there were movies which were better than Labbar Pant. That's it. That's the only reason I'm not putting Labbar Pant, because I really enjoyed, it's one of the most entertaining movies of the year. But it's just that there were movies which were more brilliant than Labbar Pant, because Labbar Pant was not a movie which was meant to be brilliant. It's just a movie that needs to connect with the audience emotionally. That's it. The technical cinematic brilliance. It's not that kind of movie, and it wasn't intending to be. So it was its own kind of thing, and I really enjoyed it. Then there was Amaran, which is one of the best military movies I have seen in a long, long time. It was very raw, it was very brutal, and it was very emotional too. It's one of those movies that made me cry this year. It was very emotional and everything. Then Amar Singh Chamkila, which was also a very, very fantastically well-made movie by, of course, Imtiaz Ali. I think it was very well directed and incredibly well acted, and all that was great. I even loved Sukshma Darshini, starring Nazira Nazim. What a comeback for her! It was really good. Basil Joseph, however, was a show stealer in that movie. It was really fantastically a very entertaining thriller. Movies like Maharaja, Kishkinda Kandam, they're thrillers, but they're not entertaining. They're you're completely in. You're I would say it hooks you more than Sukshma Darshini does, but Sukshma Darshini somehow manages to entertain us more than those movies did. It's one of the most entertaining thrillers I've seen. It has a mix of dark comedy and all that kind of things, and it has one of the best twists of the year too. It's very unpredictable, and you will never be able to guess what's coming. But it was really good, and obviously Maidan, which is one of the best sports dramas ever made in Indian cinema. I would say it hit me on literally on every level possible. It was just amazing. And last but not the least, we have Fighter, which many people won't expect Fighter to be there in the best movies of the year list, but I loved Fighter. Honestly, it's a movie normally very patriotic, jingoistic movies. Honestly, don't cater to me. I love patriotic movies like Swadesh or Chak De India, and all these movies are amazing. But there have been movies like Gadar too, which are patriotic, but they're jingoistic at the same time. They just force it upon you. Fighter is jingoistic, but it's actually incredibly well made, because the reason is because it has that emotional connection with the audience. It takes its time and sets up the characters and sets up the emotional backdrop of the movie, and Siddharth Anand did a fantastic job with it. Also, Lapata Ladies was also another brilliant movie, and I loved it. I think it was amazing. It's one of the best women empowerment movies I've seen in Bollywood ever. It's such a well-made movie, such a well-directed, well-acted movie, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful movie. I just think, again, I'm talking about the reason the top 10 for me, what are the top 10, because there are elements in those top 10 movies that I consider to be absolutely stand out. Some things that I've never seen done before in Indian cinema. Whereas Lapata Ladies is beautiful and amazing, but it's nothing that I would go and say that is something that I've never seen in Indian cinema before. So that's the reason why I did not put Lapata Ladies in the top 10, and that's the reason why I did not put any of these movies in the top 10, because I did not feel like there was anything in these movies where I felt like that has never been done in Indian cinema before. So now that we are done with the honorable mentions, let's get to the top 10 list, with the 10th position going to Autumn. If you guys, I'm pretty sure it's a very underrated movie. Most people must not even have heard about it. It's one of the most brilliantly written movies of the entire year, because the entire movie depends on the dialogue. It's literally 12 Angry Men. Basically, it's a Malayalam version of 12 Angry Men, and it's so well made. It's so well acted. It's so realistic and raw, and just, it was insane stuff. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. At ninth position, we have another movie which people won't expect to be on the best movies list, but it is. And ninth position, it is Marco. Like, I know it's a controversial pick because although Marco is very entertaining, most people won't consider it to be in like the top 10 list, but it is. Okay, like it promises one thing and it delivers it, not 100% but 200%. Like the movie's aim is to give the audience a violent, bloody ride, like giving us a slasher kind of movie. The aim was that, and the movie was able to deliver that 200% well. Like that's the level of this movie. Like it was able to deliver what it aimed, and that's why the audience are starting to love that movie. It's not just because there's action and everything, because the movie and the directors promised to deliver that, and the movie did. And the action sequences are the best in Indian cinema. Honestly, they are the best in Indian cinema. Easily, Marco is the best Malayalam action movie ever made, and Unni Mukundan did a great job. My only problem was the first half, the pacing was not that great. But again, this is the list of what I consider to be my favorites, like my favorites, or what I consider to be the best movies that I was able to experience this year. And in terms of the experience, Marco, the the level of experience that Marco gave me, I don't think any other Indian movie ever has ever given me this level of experience. It was fantastic. At eighth position, we have basically Kill. And now people will be shocked to see that Kill is actually higher than Marco on the list. And actually, uh, Kill is better than Marco in every way possible, except the action scenes. Like barring the action sequences, Kill, in terms of its emotional connect with the audience, in terms of its pacing, like in Marco, the biggest issue which I had, as I said, the first half. The problem with the first half was the pacing. The pacing was kind of all over the place. Kill is the best paced action movie I have seen from Indian cinema. It's perfectly paced. Like I did not feel a single lag moment at any point of time. Even when the movie was slow in the beginning, I did not feel laggy. I was actually genuinely interested in the characters and in their emotional bonds which they're having. Like I was actually interested in all that, and the movie kind of builds, and then it reaches that point where the protagonist is like, you know what, like I'm gonna freaking kill every single person because of what they did to me. And that's when the movie just goes on a rampage mode, and it's insane. Like it's such a well directed action movie. Like it's so much fun, it's so entertaining, and I've actually watched Kill already like 4 or 5 times. Like it's one of the most entertaining movies of the year too, and I loved every second of it. Seventh position, we have none other than Aad Jeevitham, which was probably the most, like if you keep aside movies like Emburan and all those sequel movies like Bilal and all that, I would say Goat Life was the most anticipated Malayalam movie of all time. Okay, and it was mainly because of the amount of dedication that not only Prithviraj but the entire crew, the movie's crew put into it. So everyone was obviously looking forward to it, and the movie did not disappoint in any way possible. It was one of the most heartbreaking movies of the entire year. Like there was some, I mean, honestly, I have only watched this movie twice. I watched it the first time just to see, obviously. I watched it the second time just on Netflix because my parents were watching it. I watched it second time just for that, and after that I never had the courage to go back to it. It's such a heartbreaking, exhausting movie. Like the movie actually makes you feel exhausted with Najib. Like that's the best thing about it. I do think that the first half had some things which I did not appreciate. Like I thought the flashback portions could have been cut short, or maybe it could have been removed completely because it kind of hindered the pacing of the movie. But everything else was fantastic. Prithviraj Sukumaran, I think Prithviraj has given the best performance of the entire year. I mean, if they do not give Prithviraj the award for the national award, like I am gonna protest. I am gonna, like, he deserves it in every way possible. Like he spent more than 10 years for this movie, and he dedicated himself for that long, along with just the sheer emotional kind of trauma, the kind of trauma which he makes us as the audience go through. Like he deserves that award in every way possible. I thought the background music by A.R. Rahman was probably the best of the entire year, and the movie had some of the best visuals, some of the best, as I said, background score, and everything about it was just freaking perfect. At sixth position, we have Lucky Bhaskar, probably the only Telugu movie on this list. That being said, it was the best Telugu movie of the year. It was incredibly well directed. Like, sorry, like I had something stuck in my teeth. Okay, it was incredibly well directed because, like, it's very difficult to make a movie like this because basically the movie shows a lifespan of an individual, and when it's a movie like that, it can start to wear off a little bit, like you can start to feel a little lag in. Like, I've seen many movies where the movie is about a lifespan of a person, of an individual, and his story of his growth and everything. And normally in movies like that, in the beginning obviously it'll be amazing and everything, and the movie itself might be great, but there'll be middle portions where you feel like, I don't know about that. Like, you can start feeling a little lag. Lucky Bhaskar has no lag. It has absolutely no lag. Like, it's a fast-paced, incredibly well acted. Dulquer Salman's best performance since Kamati Padam, I would say. Like, this is such a well-paced movie. Like, I would say in terms of pacing, I think Lucky Bhaskar has the best pacing of the entire year. Like, movie is non-stop. Like, it doesn't give you a boring moment or a moment for you to, like, calm down and settle. No. The movie is like on and on and on. And it just keeps adding, and it's such a brilliant movie. So well directed, so well acted. I thought Dulquer absolutely stole the show. He has that charm to, just carry the audience throughout, and he did such a freaking brilliant job in this movie. Like, DQ nailed it, and so did Venkat Luri, the director. He did a phenomenal job directing this movie, and just pacing it as good as it did is honestly the most difficult thing. But he was able to do it, and it was fantastic. Yeah, sorry guys. So now that we're done with Lucky Bhaskar, now let's get into the top 5. Like, you guys don't know how hard it was for me to actually build on these top 5, but I was ready with it. Now let's get to the top 5. The 5th position is Brahma Yugam. I think it's in my opinion the best horror movie ever made in Indian cinema since Tumbad. Okay, like, I'm absolutely, hands down, I'm ready to say it. It's the best horror movie since Tumbad. It's so well made. It's technically flawless. Like, technically flawless. The camera work, the cinematography, the music, the sound design. Like, I think the movie has some of the best sound designs I've ever heard in a movie this year. Like, watching it in the theater with the surround sound and everything, it was unreal. Like, I forgot I was watching an Indian movie. It felt like it was a transcending experience. Like, it was such a brilliantly well directed movie. Obviously Mammootty, the legend. I mean, he just keeps getting better. He just keeps getting better when he grows older. Like, it's like insane to me, like how he keeps reinventing himself with different roles every time. He just keeps getting better. Like, I don't know how it's possible. Tell me any actor in the entire world who gets better with this pace as they grow older. Like, it's insane to me. And obviously he's one of the greatest actors of all time, but all the other actors too. Arjun Ashokan also did a phenomenal job, and Siddharth Bharathan too. And this movie, it's just keeps you on the edge of your seat. Like just from the beginning of the movie onwards, I was just like, literally I was on the edge of my seat. Like, if my seat was like this, I was literally on the edge. I was like, I didn't even lean back. I was like looking forward and just, I was just staring at the screen because of its beauty and everything, and the black and white just added to the horror of the movie. It was such a brilliant aesthetic choice which Rahul Sadashivan made. But yeah, it was such a brilliant movie. And at 4th position, we have none other than Avesham. Obviously, one of the most, if not the most entertaining movie of the entire freaking year. I watched this movie maybe 7 or 8 times. Okay, 7 or 8 times. Okay, literally, even if I love a movie, I would watch it probably like 2 or 3 times. But Avesham, I loved it and I watched it 7 or 8 times. That should say how much I love this movie. Like it's such an unhinged movie. It's such a crazy, just like unhinged and just such a brilliant movie at the same time. But the acting, Fahad Fasil, I thought Trance was his best performance, but now with Avesham, I think I'm hands down saying that Avesham is his best performance he has ever given. It's truly, 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 truly brilliant. Where he's such an unhinged guy, but there are these moments of subtlety which make you feel like, oh man, there's something behind him or something that made him this way. Maybe he doesn't want to be this guy. And like it's such a brilliantly acted role that Fahad Fasil just nailed in every aspect, and all the departments in the movie. Sushin Shyam did a fantastic job in this movie, and all the other actors, and the direction and the cinematography and the action sequences. I think this movie has one of the best internal blocks of the entire year, and one of the best third acts of the entire year too. It's such a blast of a movie, and I'm genuinely excited to see what this director does next, because I heard he's working with Mohanlal. I'm genuinely looking forward to it. So now that we are done with Avesham, third position we have May Argan. I think it's one of the best Tamil movies of the year. It's the feel-good movie of the decade, because when I was watching May Argan, it's the same thing that happened to me when I was watching 96. Okay, so what happened to me was I was watching May Argan and I completely forgot I was watching a movie. I was with those characters. I was feeling every moment they were going through. It was just two characters talking and reminiscing. It was 2.5 hours of just two characters talking and reminiscing. That's it. And the way I was invested in these characters, it was truly brilliant stuff. Like the direction was absolutely impeccable. Like there are no words to describe how well directed this movie is. I thought Aravind Swamy gives his, I would say it's his best performance since forever. Like I don't even know when was the last time he was able to deliver a performance of this level. Probably since Bombay, like 2 decades back. And I thought Karthi also did a phenomenal job, and I loved every department of this movie. And honestly, if this movie would have gone on for 4 hours or 5 hours, I wouldn't really give a shit. I would watch the 4 or 5 hours. That's how much I appreciated this movie. It's such a beautiful, well-directed movie. At second position, we have Manyamal Boys, and Manyamal Boys is, I mean, the greatest survival thriller in Indian cinema, and it's also a movie that I watched the most in theaters this year. I watched this movie 3 times in the theater, and 3 times, dude, my goodness. Okay, and all the 3 times, it has given me the best theatrical experiences of my entire life. Okay, because like this movie gives us a different outlook on the survival genre, because normally survival genres, how is it? What they do is they show us the perspective of the person who's stuck in that situation, whereas in Manyamal Boys they give us an outlook, a perspective of the people who are affected by the situation rather than the person who is actually stuck. And that is such a brilliant choice, because until the first hour of this movie is just building their friendship and building their relationship. Once that is done, the director is like, okay, you guys are invested, okay, you guys are ready for the ride. Now I'm gonna put you guys in an emotional state of trance. And that's what this movie does, because after the first half, the movie emotionally locked me into such a way that I don't think it's possible for me to get any more invested in a movie ever. Like it's like Interstellar level. Like Interstellar is my favorite movie of all time, and the reason why Interstellar is so brilliant for me is because I don't think I ever felt more invested in a movie ever before watching Interstellar. Now that I watch Manyamal Boys, I think it's literally on the level of Interstellar, because it emotionally locks you in that first half. Because many people complain that the first half was a little slow. That slowness is required because if it does not build that emotion and the character, if it doesn't do the characterization and everything that first half, then honestly you're not gonna feel jack shit in the second half of the movie. And that's the brilliance of this movie. It's Chidambaram. You are a master, man. I even loved Janeman of Chidambaram. He did a very similar kind of structural strategy which he used in this movie. He did a very similar kind of thing in Janeman. And Manjimal Boys is one of the most like emotionally investing experiences I've ever had watching an Indian movie. It was pure, it was flawless. It was absolutely flawless. Now that we're done with that, let's get to the first position. And I'm gonna cheat here a little bit. Okay, I'm honestly gonna cheat here because there is no way. There is no way for me. Okay, there's no escape for me because I think I have thought of I've thought about 1,000 different times about which movie comes in the first position, and I'm just not able to decide. So you know what I did? I thought let's give it a tie this time. You know, on the first position, let it be two movies. So they're very two similar movies. So let's talk about the first one, and that is Kishkinda Kandam. Kishkinda Kandam is like, oh my goodness, my jaw was dropped the entire time watching Kishkinda Kandam in the theater. Literally, first 5 minutes I was like, okay, story is interesting. Okay, after that the movie goes into such a, what do you say, a suspenseful mode that I could not take my eyes off. And when the interval showed up, I was like, no, I don't want an interval. Just freaking continue with the movie, man. Please. That's what I felt watching Kishkinda Kandam. It's like it's mind blowing, man. Like the twist and everything. Honestly, the twist is incredible and mind blowing and sort of unpredictable. But there was a side of me which kind of predicted this possibility. I wasn't completely sure about it, but I had predicted this possibility and everything. But it was fine. But the way they built up to it, you know, the way they made us completely forget, you know, like it's not a movie which when you're watching you're guessing, you want to guess, you know, it's not a movie where you're going to be like, I think it's the father, I think it's the grandfather, no, I think it's the wife who must have done. No, it's not like that. You are so into the movie, you don't care about guessing who the killer is or who is not, you know, or what might have happened here. You don't care about all that. You are just watching this movie for its experience. They're experiencing these things, and it's done in such an incredible way that I applauded. Okay, like I literally, my entire theater applauded. Okay, that was the only time in the theater. I think Manjamal Boys had a lot of applause and everything, but other than Manjamal Boys, I think Kishkinda Kandam was a movie where the audience in my theater literally got up and started applauding this movie, and I did the loudest claps that I could for this movie. Like I was just there standing for like 2 minutes straight clapping my hands because I couldn't believe what I just saw. You know, it's the greatest thriller in Indian cinema since, I would say, Drishyam. I mean, not Indian cinema, probably Malayalam cinema. Indian cinema, I might have to think, but Malayalam cinema since Drishyam, I think this one is the best one. Period. Now let's get to the other first position, and that is Maharaja. I mean, everything that has to be said about Maharaja has already been said. I'm just gonna say it again. It's just the most beautiful piece of art I have ever seen from Tamil cinema in the last year. It's just, it's so well written. Okay, like the direction and everything is a little over dramatic. I felt that, but the screenplay is flawless. Like there is not a single weak link in the screenplay. It's absolute perfection. You know, like absolute perfection. Like there is not a single other thing in this movie that I felt was, you know, that was not that great. Maybe this was not. No. I felt I was logged in the screenplay. Like the screenplay was constantly just engaging, and then at the end of the movie, when you look back onto the movie which you just saw, when there are things which did not make sense, when you look back on it, you are like, ah, now I get it. You know, like that Maharaja was the movie that made me feel that way. You know, and another reason why I put Maharaja this high on the list is because Maharaja, I watched it 5 different times. Now the thing is, I told I watched Avesham 6 times. The problem is I watched it with so many different people, and there were 2 sets of people who did not like Avesham. Okay, and because of that, I wasn't able to enjoy the movie as much when I watched it with them. So, but the thing with Maharaja is I watched it with 5 different people, 5 different sets of people, and all of them were mind blown with this movie. They were just mind blown. They were like, what did he just show us? What is this, man? What are you showing us? You know, that's the level of like experience that this movie brings forward to the audience, you know, and that's the reason why I love it, because I loved seeing their reactions to it. You know, I loved seeing how these people feel watching it for the first time, you know. And that's one of the reasons why I love Maharaja. It's such a mind-blowing movie. Performances were incredible. It has the most heartbreaking climax that I've seen in a movie this year, personally, for me. Even it's along with Kishkinda Kandam. It's one of the reasons why I put both of them together on the list, because when I say it's the most heartbreaking scene of the year, I tie it with Kishkinda Kandam, because Kishkinda Kandam's climax also is very heartbreaking. So that's the reason I put both of them on the first position. Both of them are the best movies of the entire year from Indian cinema, period. And that's my list, guys. Again, I know it's a little controversial list, and I know I did cheat for the first position, but I had no choice. Like, I literally had no choice. But yeah, so that's my list. If you guys didn't agree with it, okay, like, it's your opinion, it's my opinion. So see you guys next year for the next release, whichever I'm gonna see. So bye.